Greetings! Welcome back to Switch to Linux, and today we are having our panel discussions, and we are going to be talking about a variety of different Linux projects and things we're doing right now. It was, so a couple updates from last week. Well, first, let's go ahead and how do you get on this show? Well, any of the supporters are welcome to come on to the show. You can support us over on thinklifemedia.com. You can support us on Patreon /TOMM or on Subscribestar /switched-to-linux. So that is how you can jump in and help support the show. Also, last week we were talking about video conferencing ideas. I do have everything updated to give Nextcloud Talk a test. We're going to test it hopefully early next week. And if it looks good, then we are going to attempt to run a show with Nextcloud Talk to get off of the evil Googlies as far as sharing our conferencing here. Now, I know, but you're on YouTube, blah, 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 blah. Okay, anything going out like public as part of the channel and teaching people how to do Linux, I don't mind using YouTube. I don't particularly mind using Google Hangouts to do these live streams because everything we're doing is going out public anyway. But I would like to have the ability and the resources because we know that Google likes to take its products out back behind the barn and put a 9mm in it, and so we want to be ready for that. And so Nextcloud Talk is what we're going to test out this week. So hopefully next Thursday's show we can do one on Nextcloud Talk. So if we do that, forgive us if it goes goofy and wonky. It might occasionally do that. But we'll see what happens. It's a brand new version of everything. I have shiny, crispy new software, and we'll see if it actually works. But anyway, how's everybody doing today?
Doing well.
Peachy.
All right.
I'm fine.
Well, peachy and fine, and I guess I'm doing Expand Dandy or something. I don't know, but anyway.
A lot of work this week. I've had a lot of work this week. It's been one of the more busy weeks, which is two thumbs up. That's excellent.
Yeah, that's good. I've had a little uptick in some things, but not a lot. One of the things I'm working on behind the scenes is I'm working on revamping the web design platform, which I've decided is going to stay on WordPress, just because if I'm doing WordPress and Joomla development, I'd like to have like half my sites on WordPress, unfortunately, and half the sites on Joomla. So I'll actually probably start promoting that in the business streams as an affiliate or whatever, because hey, I actually do really good work on websites. So.
You do. You definitely hold
working on it
there.
Yeah, I've been doing it since like websites happen on the internet. I think I went back, my very first website, which went up on GeoCities, I think was within a year or two of the first photo ending up on the internet. Like back in the 90s. So, and I kept up mostly with it. There's some things I know, there's some things I don't. The community here, Ricky, how's it going there? Yu-Gi-Oh! Master 88 is here. Greetings, Moonbase Alpha Grace. Greetings, and take me to your leader, Neo 29, Mr. Anderson. How's it going there? Miriora, how's it going there? Use Arch, by the way, very good. Meme of the day. Meme of the decade. Come on, what are you thinking? Meme of the day. Bleach equals litter box? Oh, beach equals litter box. Yes, indeed, the beach is a giant litter box. The kitty loves going to the beach because he's just like, I can just poop anywhere, yo. Tommy Jana, how's it going there? Fedora gang, where are you at? Well, Quint's on. He's a Fedora guy.
Fedora.
Hi.
Quint, there you go. There's a Fedora guy. All right. Red Smith, how's it going there? What you doing with Linux right now? Watching. What you doing with Linux right now? Inception. There you go. All right. CFWW, hello to you. Who remembers Google Wave? So amazing when it came out. I don't remember Google Wave. What was Google Wave?
Open to see.
Let's see. If I was a horse, I could be shot right now. Uh-oh. Don't do that. I wouldn't want to be using WordPress right now. It seems like one exploit after another. I haven't heard of any major ones in a couple weeks anyway. But to be fair, though, most of the WordPress exploits are from plugins, not the WordPress core. And this is why I actually develop everything in WordPress ground up, and I build the vastest majority of your functionality into the theme without utilizing any plugins, because I don't want that security nightmare. And I can say I have never had one of my WordPress themes get hacked. It's possible, I'm sure, but I have not had it happen because we don't have boatloads of highly vulnerable and accessible software all over the place. So,
well, now that you brought it up, somebody is going to try it.
Oh yeah, guaranteed. Somebody is going to try it. So
Thing is I've seen WordPress developers who will install like 40 plugins on a site.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who say they do WordPress sites, and they don't do WordPress sites. They're script kiddies. They install WordPress with Softaculous. They go to ThemeForce, download a theme, import the demo content, and edit it to be what you want. And then they install, like the biggest one I cannot for the life of me figure out why anybody ever uses it in the history of the world is Advanced Custom Fields. Which makes no sense of a plugin. Do you know how easy it is to plug in that exact feature into the theme itself, whether the parent theme or a child theme, and just go, boom, you have a brand new menu to put your headers, your posts, or whatever you want all in there. You don't need that custom fields. Okay, all of that is stuff that WordPress can handle just fine, but we got the WordPress script kiddies, and that's why WordPress is so vulnerable.
Why are you not a fan of the Softaculous type installers?
A lot of it is because, like Windows 10, they just want to be like, hey, instant update, and we all know we never update on day one, and they like to do that. They also do a lot of other things. They'll change a few of the installation systems in the background and meddle with a few little things. One of the things that they started doing with those is, hey, we're going to plug in W3 Total Cache directly on the installer through Softaculous. The problem is that's the plugin that you install last. If you're going to use it, you install it last because it messes up a lot of the other things. It buries itself inside the config file. And so if you're using Softaculous that auto installs W3 Total Cache, you'll have to go in there, you have to scrub it out of the thing, delete it out, and then it leaves massive unused tables in the database, basically doubling the size of your installation. That's why I don't like to use those. And frankly, WordPress is designed to throw the files on the server and build it. You don't need to install
it manually too. It's not that hard. Like, I was just curious why you prefer that.
Yeah,
I've installed it both ways. Neither of them are hard.
Yeah, I don't even think Softaculous works on my server right now. I think I actually crippled it. Just because I kill it.
There's the first time for everything. My MX Linux is not booting. It won't take it. It won't take the graphics. Wow.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
That's
the graphics is older, but I guess I just need to do like a lighter version.
Greetings. Let's see. Not Gary's on. Plex 2004. Ever used Regatta OS? I can't remember if I've looked at Regatta or not. Hello, Mitchell. Greetings. Hello, the low-spec Linux laptop. And I hate OS that updates every 6 seconds. Yeah. Hey, like, Arch will tell me there's updates. Like, I updated it last night, and it already has updates. How many? I don't know.
That's how Fedora is.
That's only 9. Wow. Only 9 updates.
Fedora will tell you it has updates, but it won't auto-install them.
Yeah.
That's why I like Fedora, because it's one of the distros that's very privacy-focused. Like, the only type of data collection that's in their system is automatic problem reporting, which is disabled by default.
Yeah. Very good. All right, let's go ahead and jump in on our topic. Dan, we're going to start with you. So you're using Linux Mint Debian Edition, and you wanted to do a couple customizations to it, correct?
Well, I got the idea from this guy. He has a YouTube channel. His name is Doran / and he's one of the guys that's over on the Telegram Biddle group. And he made a video on how to take Debian and put the newest stuff in it. I'm like, it'd been bothering me for days. I was chicking at first to try it, and I thought, what do I got to lose? I have a Clonezilla backup.
Yep.
Well, come to find out, when I checked the source list for Linux Mint Debian Edition, it has the backports string in the file. So what you do is you need to actually, if you're going to upgrade your LibreOffice, you have to do a purge, remove, and make sure you get rid of all the old stuff.
Yeah.
And then you just actually put sudo apt install, and then you have to use the -T switch.
Okay.
And then you put Buster backports, and then LibreOffice, and it'll go get you LibreOffice 7. And that's what it did.
Yep.
So that went kind of smooth, and I checked that out. So I went to the next move and went to the kernel, and the kernel's kind of the same way. And I got a nice new 5.7.0 kernel and installed it. I rebooted the machine, and then it balked and locked up halfway through it, even in advanced mode.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, bummer. And then I had another website that I was actually using for a guide on how to actually move this stuff around. And it's got these things, and so you can look at your kernels, dpkq space -- list space pipe sign grp space Linux headers or Linux image. And then in the terminal, it'll show you all the stuff that's in it. Well, I happened to notice that all the kernels that Debian had installed had header files. And the kernel that I installed didn't come with a header file.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's more online communication, and got the skivvies on how to install the header file. And I went and put the stuff in the terminal to get the header file, and it went and brought down the header file. Then I rebooted the machine, and it worked with the brand new kernel. So I was kind of like gloating all over the place. They say you can't do this, you shouldn't do this with Debian junk and stuff like that, but it does work. Yeah. I haven't had any crashes or mishaps, other than there was one thing in the video. It didn't say to go bring down a header file too. Mm-hmm. It just said how to bring down the kernel, and it all should work fine.
Yeah, I know I did Linux Mint Debian Edition with the latest kernel and Plasma, I think, at one point in time. I can't remember exactly all the steps I used, but yeah, very, very same principles. So there you go. You can even use something like Debian and get it to work. And,
I use a website called How to Remove Old Kernels in Debian and Ubuntu. Mm-hmm.
Now, did you keep the old ones there temporarily so you could always go back and reboot it?
I learned how to remove the old ones because that's what I was exploring, let's say a month ago. What happens when my system partition gets so full of kernels, the system locks up. So I never knew how to remove kernels and clean up my kernel area on my hard drive until I went to this website. Like I said, it was how to remove old kernels in Debian and Ubuntu. And it shows how to use the uname thing and general stuff you can find on any web page if you type in Google remove Debian kernels. So I use this procedure like I explained, and it showed me the kernels and the headers that I want, and I just went and I just removed them one by one until I only had one 4.19 kernel left. I just kept one as a spare in case the 5.7 blew up in my face.
Okay, very good.
But so far I haven't noticed any difference whatsoever with the brand new kernel.
Yeah, so it's not a lot of changes, any major improvements, or is it just exactly the same pretty much?
It's exactly the same pretty much.
And that's why I don't mess with kernels much.
Well, it was something I wanted to see if I could pull off because,
Mm-hmm. Now, if you're new around here and you're asking why might you want to do that, if he was using the latest hardware or something was going goofy, it would be a way that he could use the operating system he wanted to without actually having to get in and use a different operating system. So that's the reason why.
Let's say I wanted to go get the newest AMD graphics card, the 5700 RX or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Yes, you need this kernel to run that graphics card because the old kernel wouldn't hack it. The Debian 4.19 kernel, it's good up to about 2018 to the end of that year, and then you're going to start having hardware problems with any hardware newer than that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. Anything else to say on what you're doing with Linux right now?
Gaming.
All right, good gaming. And are you gaming on Linux Mint Debian Edition, or are you gaming on something else?
No, I'm gaming on the Debian Edition.
Very good. Awesome.
It runs a good assortment of games. I got Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. It runs that just fine. You just have to put a little extra string to make the audio work in the startup command.
Yep.
I got the American Truck Simulator and the Euro Truck Simulator. I got World of Warships. I got Fallout 4. I even got Witcher 3.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I'll tell you something. The Skyrim Special Edition, they redid that game. It was a 32-bit game. Now they put it on a 64-bit engine.
Okay.
And it's a very popular game. You can find how to get out of any situation you're in on the internet. There's literally thousands of videos people have done on certain areas of the game because it's like a quest-based game. For what I paid for it this summer was about $15 on sale from Steam, and I'm still playing on it. I haven't got nowhere to the end.
Nice.
It's the best $15 for a game I'd ever spent.
Nice.
That's awesome. I'll have to try video gaming sometime. I mean, maybe eventually I'll have a little bit of free time in my schedule. So he's using Linux Mint Debian Edition. I dropped the link for that in the comment thread there. So linuxmint.com, and then he's on LMDE, which is the Debian-based version of Linux Mint. Very excellent.
Yeah, that takes you out of the snap situation by using that.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to have some issues with packages. You may have to bow down to a flat pack or an all-in-one binary package or something like that, or even an app image.
All right.
Oh, I like the binaries. Those are the best.
Yeah.
I put a folder in my home folder called bin,
Mm-hmm.
and then I put the folder like I'm actually using Firefox because it came with ESR. I'm using the Quantum, but it's a self-contained binary. You throw it in the bin folder. You make one of those .desktop files, and you don't even have to put it in the system. There's a place in local applications in there where you can put it in there, and poof, you're going fine. And then if you go to another distro, let's say you want to hop, because I have my drive partitioned, where I got the EFI partition, I got the 512 megabyte system partition, then I got the home partition, a little bit for swap. So when you go to a new, let's say a new installation, just clean out your home folder so you don't have stuff that the system needs leaking over to a different distro, and you just put all your new stuff in that system folder you made, or system partition you made, and all your stuff in your home folder just stays the same, and all your binary stuff you installed and made .desktop files for works right out of the box. Even the passwords and everything work.
All right, very good. Yeah, that's a good thing about Linux, is the portability of your operating system and just your applications using the bin folder he's doing. I did, by the way, figure out how to get Firefox to stop bothering me for the notifications on Mac. I will do a video about that soon. I'll do it for Linux and for Mac because I had the same issue show up on Arch the other day. So. All right, Mark, I think you are up, and you're going to talk about your working. So you do PC type stuff, and you are working with a customer right now, and you're just going to give them a new operating system, right?
Yeah. What's going on is I've got a couple of old desktop PCs.
Can you move a little bit closer to your mic?
My bad. Is that better?
Yep, there you go.
Better, okay. One of them is an XPS 400 Dell, and that's the most interesting one because these were actually powerhouses back in the day. I think it originally came installed with Windows XP, and it has DDR2 memory. Well, after diagnosing everything and setting it aside, I've also got the HP Pavilion one, but it also has DDR2. I set these aside after diagnosing what I could. I've got to get some parts to replace in the XPS 400. But this is basically a donor PC. He's donating it to me. instead of trying to swap out the motherboard and CPU and memory as a stopgap measure to bring it more up to date, I knew that the USB 3 headers would be missing, and it's a proprietary case, so I can't really do that. So instead of just throwing the machine away and saying, oh, well, why don't I do a Linux migration? I offer that service. It's a really good price. I think right now it's at $60 even. And I will basically put a lightweight Linux distro on there after I replace the parts, boot it up into Linux, and install what he needs, because the user using it doesn't require Windows. There's no applications that he can't get in Linux, or at least a viable alternative. There's nothing that he would use that is going to be Windows only that I'm aware of. So after talking with the client and confirming that, I'm just going to load possibly Linux Lite or MX Antics. Not MX. Antics Linux, which is a sister project of MX Linux. And it's very, very featherweight.
Yep. Very good. Another one to look at, it's if you do want to run an Arch type one, I looked at Instant OS recently, and that thing ran on like 200 megabytes. It's quite incredible.
Wow.
But it's not nearly as intuitive for somebody. So it is using a window manager and it's Arch. So not necessarily what you want to give to a customer at the very end.
This person specifically is disabled. I'm not going to say any names or anything. So I'm looking for something specifically really, really simple. I might do Zorin.
Yeah, Zorin would be a good choice. Zorin Lite. So
Zorin Lite, would be great. Yeah, I'm thinking so. And it would probably run Zorin Core fine, but I think I'll do Zorin Lite to be safe. Yeah, I was seriously just sitting there, and I'm thinking about putting Zorin on my machine.
Yeah, Zorin is definitely a good choice for a person looking for a new user-friendly one. So it is nice.
Yeah. Zorin, I think, has the best GNOME implementation of all the Ubuntu distros. Other than stock GNOME, I think Zorin has the best one.
I think though on a lower spec system, I don't think you'd want to do the core Zorin.
No,
I think you'd want to do
I'm talking about the regular, not the Lite. I think the Lite is based on like XFCE or something.
Correct. Yeah. So that's this one here. And it runs very few things. In fact, we'll pull up the system requirements: 700 megahertz single core, 64 or 32-bit, 512 megabytes of RAM, 8 gigs of storage, 640 by 40 resolution. That's its minimum specs.
700 some. He's got he'll have 8 gigs of memory, I believe. He'll have like a total 8 gigs.
Yeah, so if it's 8 gigs of memory and the processor's a little bit bigger, you might be able to do the core actually.
The processor is very, very old.
Yeah, I'd probably do the Zorin Lite if the processor's that old, though. Yeah. Very good. Anything else you want to say before we jump over to Quint?
No. I believe that's the gist of it. I got the 2 machines, so I may do Zorin on both. Yeah.
Very good. All right, Quint, what are you doing on Linux right now?
So I have a whole bunch of projects that I've been working on. One of the first ones I'll go over right here is I have a Raspberry Pi here that has, this is a touch, the official touchscreen, and this is a case. It's called the Smarty Pi Touch is the name of this case. It's a case for the touchscreen, and it puts the Pi right in the back right there. And one of the things I wanted to do with this is I wanted to build essentially a Raspberry Pi tablet. And so what I've got actually running up here, I don't know how well you can see this. Let me move the camera.
I'm going to pull up the website for the Smarty Pi. So
it's smartycase.com.
Yep.
You Smarty Pi.
I got it. So here you go. You got some photos. I went ahead and put some photos up there because they won't be able to see it. But I have the website up.
Okay. So here's the Pi right here. What I actually managed to do is I managed to get GNOME running on this, which I know it actually is usable. I thought it wouldn't be usable, but it actually is. And what I'm doing to get GNOME on here is I just installed Raspbian Lite, like the very minimal image of Raspbian, which comes with no desktop. And there's a tutorial on how to get GNOME on there. You type in the command line, there's a command you type that essentially presents like when you're installing Debian, that list comes up asking you like which desktop environment you want to install. You type that command and that same list comes up, and then you just choose GNOME, and then it'll install all the packages for GNOME.
Very good.
And so everything's baked in right into Raspbian. And so
how responsive is it?
It is. I think some of the responsiveness issues I'm having is because I'm using the touch screen, like my mouse right here. If I click on activities, it's like instant. I don't know how
I can see the mouse runs
the touch screen works too. Like if I can touch right there, the touch screen works. I can touch here. I can open the settings. I think this is one of the reasons to use Raspbian, because Raspbian has all the touchscreen drivers baked in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll have to test it around with my. I do have a touchscreen, an older touchscreen that I was able to get working on a few things, but I'll have to play around with it, see if I can get something like that working.
One of the other things that I did to really improve the performance of the system is in Raspbian, there's an option under your Raspberry config menu to essentially adjust the amount of graphics memory the system has. It comes with 64 by default, which is not sufficient enough for anything but like a really light desktop, like the one that comes with Raspbian. But I bumped it up to 512, and that really helped.
Good.
Yeah. But it works as expected. The touchscreen sometimes, like on the corners and stuff, the touchscreen doesn't work super well. But I think that's an issue with the touchscreen itself and not Raspbian or not GNOME. As you can see, I can like move through all the apps here. It installs a ton of stuff. Like we have like Rhythm Box. We have the full LibreOffice suite. Here, let me open up. I'll actually open up a terminal with HTOP. I can show you guys that the on-screen keyboard works too. So.
That's really cool, though. You know.
And so here's HTOP right here, and it looks like we're using. I don't know how well you can see this, but
yeah,
it looks like
pretty clear. I don't think they can. 412 megabytes of RAM is what it's using.
Yeah. And the CPU is like nothing.
Yeah. Looks nice.
Yeah, it works pretty well.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, moving on, I'll talk about a couple other projects. Let me put the camera back up here. So the first one is at my other house, since we're not there all the time, I have a whole bunch of stuff with home automation to automate things when we're gone. And I use a program that runs, it's an operating system that runs on the Raspberry Pi called Home Assistant. I think you have that up already.
Yeah, I pulled it up, but you know what? I forgot the Home Assistant demo does not work on this web browser because of how locked down
I have it. Home Assistant demo doesn't work on the web browser. Home Assistant probably wouldn't work on that browser.
Yeah, probably not. But I mean, I have other browsers. Let me see if I can pull one up and at least put it on the screen.
Share my instance if you want me to.
I'm gonna throw it into Firefox, and let me go ahead and see if I can either change my source real quick for the web browser view, or I think I might be able to do that. Yeah, I can change the source for the web browser view. Let me do that. There we are. All right, I'll change the source so we can actually see the demo now. So go ahead and walk us through what the demo does here.
So let me look. So are you on the default?
Yeah, I'm on the basic demo, so I can kind of see right now. It's telling me what the temperature is. I have the toggle buttons up for the turning of the lights on and off in the house. I have the entertainment system, so I can see YouTube activity, HDMI switcher shield.
So I
have
I have it pulled up in my browser too, right here. So Home Assistant is essentially, it's a home automation hub, and it essentially takes all your IoT devices and integrates them into one specific one specific interface to manage everything. So you see in the demo, there's like a thermostat up here in the corner, and then there's like this music card down here. There's a security card, which is for like an alarm system. There's some stuff about lights here. Home Assistant works if you actually go back to the website and then click on the thing at the top where it says, I think it says integrations. There's a menu on the top. And that's everything that works with Home Assistant. There's like I think there's about 1,600 integrations that work with Home Assistant right now.
Okay, so
Wow.
integrations. There we are. All right, so here you go.
There's
So you have, hey Alexa, order unicorn meat, confirm. Look at that, guys. Look at that.
Alexa does work with Home Assistant.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of things.
Works with Home Assistant. One of the main things, I'm sure you probably see this on the page. I don't actually have that pulled up right now, but at the very bottom, there's two things that say Z-Wave and Zigbee. Do you see that?
Yep.
So Z-Wave and Zigbee are smart home protocols that are very privacy friendly by design. They're both mesh networks. So the way they work is that you'll have a device that you'll plug like a little USB stick into your Raspberry Pi that acts as like the antenna for the Zigbee network or Z-Wave. They're both they're developed by different companies, but they're both like the same thing. And each device connects to each other in a mesh. So let's say you have your Raspberry Pi first connects to a smart plug. Then the smart plug connects to a temperature sensor. Then the temperature sensor connects to a light bulb. You see how it's like a mesh?
Mm-hmm.
And then they all come back together. Like it's this one big mesh. And the reason why it's very privacy friendly is because in order for those devices to get to the internet, they have to go through the hub. And your hub can allow them so that they don't connect to the internet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good.
So that's one of the reasons why I like those protocols. They don't require any kind of like Wi-Fi information. It's kind of like pairing a Bluetooth device. You just push the button on the device. You put your Zigbee controller into pairing mode or Z-Wave, and then it'll find it. But it'll for a lot of control. Like when you add something in, you'll get different like options you have. Like if you go back to the demo, are called entities. Like for example, like if you go back to the demo and just click on like one of the first light bulbs, it says like kitchen lights. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yep. Let me switch back
Just
over
click
there.
on not the switch. Just click on the text kitchen lights, and you'll see that there's a little box that comes up.
Yeah. Okay. So we can see the history.
There's other stuff, and then if you click the little gear icon and click on, I guess you can't actually see this because this is a demo, but these little cards here are considered entities. These are like so this is how you control that individual thing. And integrations. So an integration is what allows a device to connect to Home Assistant, and then the device has different entities. For example, like you see the doorbell card down at the bottom here, where it says front door ding, front door motion.
Yep.
That's all one device, but it has different values. It's one device, but with 4 entities, if that makes sense.
So we can check a variety of different motions and stuff.
And so I've been using Home Assistant for probably about 6 months now. I have a thermostat. I have 2 smart plugs. I have a smart light switch. I have some our Sonos speakers connect to Home Assistant through the like media card thing here at the bottom, towards the bottom. And then I have a security system, and I'm trying to think what else do I have in there. I think that's it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I have integrated into Home Assistant. It really lets you like control everything from one interface. You could like throw this interface up on a tablet and just mount it to the wall, and you would have a way to control your entire house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. So if you're looking for an option for that, somebody asked about Hue Light Bulbs. This does control Hue Light Bulbs, and there was an app for this too, right? You said there was an app.
Yeah, there's an Android and an iOS app. There was this huge debate for the Android app, because originally the Android app required Google Play services, but then finally a bunch of people got mad at them, and they ended up making a version that doesn't require Google Play services. If you go to their GitHub page, There's like a full version and there's a minimal version.
Okay. What's and do you use the full or the minimal yourself?
I use the minimal. The minimal version doesn't require Google Play. The full version does.
What's the limitation differences of using the minimal?
The minimal version does not give you push notifications. So you can't, one of the things you can do is you can set up automations in Home Assistant where you could like have one device, like for example, when the security system turns on, the thermostat raises up, that would be an automation. But you could also have an automation. So for example, if there's like a smoke detector that detects smoke and you could have it send a push notification to your phone. That doesn't work on the minimal app because it requires Firebase for notifications.
Okay.
But there's other ways of notifying you. Like you can actually have it connect to like Mastodon or something and have it send you notifications through there. You could also, I think this is probably one of the best things to do, is you could give your home, you could plug like one of those like the little USB modems into your Pi and then just have it send you text messages.
Okay, there you go. So there's ways around it. And can you get that on like F-Droid, or do you just download the APK from their website?
The app is not on F-Droid. You have to go to their GitHub page and download the APK.
And I'm okay with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Cool. Very nice.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should say about it.
All right.
But yeah, I really like it. It's a really neat platform that allows you to integrate all your smart devices. And you can have it set up, like you could have a Home Assistant that only uses Z-Wave and Zigbee without having any kind of like Wi-Fi smart device.
Mm-hmm.
And did somebody ask?
That's pretty cool.
Did somebody ask about Hue bulbs in here?
Yeah, somebody did ask about Hue bulbs, and yeah, I did mention that it is there. Go ahead.
That you can actually do with Home Assistant is that Hue bulbs, or not Home Assistant, but pretty much anything that uses Zigbee, is that the way the Hue bulbs work is the Hue bulbs are Zigbee, and they come in like there's Zigbee. The bulbs themselves are Zigbee, and they connect to a hub called the Hue bridge, which is essentially Zigbee to Ethernet, and that's how you control it. But you don't need the Hue bridge if you already have an existing Zigbee network. You can connect a Philips Hue bulb directly to Home Assistant. And the reason you'd want to do that is you wouldn't have to like download any like mobile apps or anything or create any accounts to set it up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. So yeah, I guess you can use that. And Muriel has been asking about that. Mm-hmm.
Plus, the bridge costs like $50 too, and plus the bulbs are already really expensive. So if you just have Home Assistant, you can just buy the bulbs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's neat. Plastic, it looks like Plastic works with it as well, and there's a lot of variety.
If you go through all those integrations, there's a lot of stuff that works with it. There actually is on the top. I know you were talking about like Alexa on there. Almond, which is like the open source voice assistant, does work with Home Assistant. I checked that. I know you were asking about voice assistants.
There's alarms. There's just, you can come in here and just kind of click a variety of things. 103 different hubs.
Now that you showed that on screen and explained it a little better, Quint, it clarifies what the project's about and what it's for.
So
ADHD, when you've talked in the past, I've missed some pieces, but yeah, that is super useful, I imagine. Now, one thing I would ask, of course, you're going to have modern components to be able to wire. If your house obviously isn't automated by default, unless it's a brand new build, if you're wanting to take like an older house and add some of the functionality of a home automation to that, I guess it's doable, right? With the right.
Yeah, I actually can speak with that because the house that we have all this stuff in was built in the 1870s.
I remember
it's an old house.
That. Yeah.
And so it's actually the only thing, stuff like wireless sensors and stuff, like just most like Zigbee and Z-Wave stuff, and even a lot of Wi-Fi sensors are wireless and don't require like any kind of like tie into your power. The only exception is a smart light switch. We actually do have a smart light switch that's Z-Wave that controls one of the outside lights. Mm-hmm. That smart light switch did require you to have a neutral wire in the electrical box, which not all old houses have. Mm-hmm. Luckily, that specific box was redone later and had a neutral in it. But so stuff like that, you might run into some issues. But I think there are some smart switches that don't require neutral wires. Most of them do, though.
That's very good information.
Very good.
Yeah, I was just
check
that one
power
box that
box.
we put the switch in had a neutral in it.
I'll
Not
check
all the
my
boxes
power
in the
box.
house do.
Yeah, I understand. I follow you completely. I'll check my power box or check with my landlord. They can probably tell me. Or
Well,
get
it's
somebody
it's.
to
Do you
do it.
have 3-prong outlets or 2-prong outlets, or you can get a?
Neutrals, actually, 3-prong outlets are ground.
I
Neutral is the way a light switch works is you have a line and a load.
Yeah.
So you'd have a line,
Yeah.
then you'd have the load, and then you have a neutral. Typically, in like an older house, the neutral would just go straight to the light.
Yeah.
But in a newer house, it's required to have a neutral in the switch box. And not all houses have that.
I see what you mean. Yeah, that's still oftentimes how you still wire it. You just wire the one power, I always just wire the hot to it. I'm trying to think how I did my solar ones, if I ran neutrals to them or not. I think I actually did. I actually think I do have full neutrals running to them as well.
Yeah, the smart switches do require neutrals typically.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I wasn't.
So,
for my usage case, I wasn't looking for something full blown. I would like to have something in place for lights and maybe some basic, functionality there with the TV.
One of the other things that you could do if you didn't want to have to mess with switches is get a smart light bulb that you can turn on and off, and then just leave the switch on all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was a smart link bulb, or just a
light bulb. Yeah, just a light bulb that uses like Z-Wave or Zigbee. There's plenty.
Yeah,
you look up, like if you just go to Amazon and type in Zigbee and then whatever or Z-Wave, or like type in the word Z-Wave and then whatever product you're searching for. The same thing for Zigbee. Just type in Zigbee and the product you're searching for. There's going to be a ton of stuff.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. I'll go ahead and take the floor now for one of the things I've been working on. And of course, I forgot to grab there. Of course, I've been working on doing some microscale Raspberry Pi stuff. So this one's not the one that's in use right this second, but I have multiple of these guys, put them all together. I have a nice clear acrylic case on this guy here. This is not a case that's designed to take the Raspberry Pi out, but that's okay because my applications do not have me taking them in or out. These cases here, they do have cooling fans. They come with all the heat sinks and everything. And what I'm doing is the first one that I have set up is I have a Isp Config set up. So Isp Config is a way to manage your servers. So it's basically an open source control panel for basically doing like cPanel web management stuff. There's a few limitations to it as I've been playing around with it, and I want to do a full review of it kind of soon. But what I have is I have this set up on a Raspberry Pi. And what I did with the Raspberry Pi is I overclocked it so that it will run a little bit better and faster. And then I have this guy set up on my server, and then I went ahead and just remapped my IP address for it to just server.com on my internal LAN. So I can go to server.com and I can manage my whole system here. So inside of here, I can set up clients, and I have not set up anything with this yet. I plan on testing a variety of things like web-based accounting softwares, anything that I want to test and deploy locally before pushing out. I can test over here, get everything all set up, and then go ahead and push it out. So with Isp Config, it basically is a full-fledged control panel. You can set up emails, DNS, you can monitor the system, you can set up clients, you can set up individual things like you can go ahead and say for each individual client, you might give them certain abilities like the limit templates, for example. These will tell the system what limits a system can have. So let me see if I can set over. I may not be able to go ahead and set since I haven't set any templates up yet, I can't actually show you what those look like. But with your limit templates, let's just do new. Save that. And what you can do is you can set how many domains it can have, how many websites it can have, just a variety of different things that you can do. Like I said, I'm going to have a full review of this where I'm going to go through and show you all the steps and reviews. But this is all running internally on a Raspberry Pi. And this is a Pi 4 4GB. And the other fun feature this Raspberry Pi has is when the web server is on, it is also a wireless access point. So I also have a wireless access point running off of this Raspberry Pi. So if I want to connect, so like this one here, I can actually connect to it and go pretty far ways out my front door and still have very good access to high-speed internet. So this is all done on this Pi here. And what we're then going to do with this one is, like I said, set up deployment of web servers internally. And then I have another Pi where I will be doing a few more projects to in the future. So that's kind of what I'm working on a little bit. And stay tuned for the upcoming videos talking about how to do that. Now, if you do want to use your Raspberry Pi as a wireless access point, I actually already dropped that video a few weeks ago. So you can go and find that one. And I think I have a tutorial on the website posted for it as well. So that's kind of what I have. If anybody else wants to go in and ask any questions about that type of stuff.
How well does the Raspberry Pi access point work?
I actually found that compared to my Cisco Linksys E1000, it's actually fairly comparable. The one thing though is that I think I can set it up, but I don't have it set up to do B and A, or like N and A. So I could set it up to do BGN or set it up to do A. I have it set up on A, so some of my devices can't see it if they have older cards. Although I can switch it back to the N and it works just fine.
Does it support AC?
What's that?
Does it support
AC? Yes, it does support AC, and that's the one, like I said, it actually supports AC fairly well. I don't have it right now running with a variety of different things, so I don't have it running N or AC. Let me see, do I have my comparisons? All right, so the PF-Sense, which it's PF-Sense, so it doesn't handle wireless well. That actually pings at 10 milliseconds. I get download of 21.53, uploads of 10.96. My Cisco E1000 gets a ping of 10. It gets 37.7 down, 11.85 up. The Pi on G gets a 12 millisecond ping, 24.73 down, 11.91 up. And on A, it gets 11 millisecond, 28.44 down, 11.94 up. So that's what I got running my numbers.
Yeah, I can say I don't know how powerful in my environment. I have Ubiquity access points. That's much more powerful than the Pi. I understand it works for you with everybody on the web. I get like almost 350 down on Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're gonna do a whole lot better on those. Absolutely.
Yeah. Ubiquity's kind of gone crazy though, so it's kind of interesting just to look at some of the other solutions for Wi-Fi. Ubiquity's just done some stuff recently, like all their new routers require a cloud login. That's why I decided to flee from their routers and move to PF-Sense.
Yeah, that makes kind of sense.
Yeah, their switches and access points are still pretty good, but the routers, no.
Yeah.
Can you show some graphics on that?
On what?
The like your control panel setup for your. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. For your project for your Raspberry Pi that you're setting up to manage your clients' websites and stuff.
So, like, can you see the actual screen?
Like screenshots of the actual setup with the actual control mechanism to it's like it's what you said at Control Center. It just makes everything easier
Mm-hmm.
for you to manage, and you can just divvy it out or set the settings
Yeah.
and configurations you want per client for their needs, right?
Yeah, it basically, if you've used like cPanel, it's
Yeah.
fairly similar to that. It's not as streamlined because cPanel itself is, cPanel itself is such a well used proprietary system that it works really well.
Cool. Yeah. It's just the functionality of it is the most important thing there. I guess it's kind of left me. I think I might have to come back to it at a later date. I guess it just my train of thought left me.
Mm-hmm.
I need to take more meds.
Oh.
It is what it is. Sometimes it just gets fuzzy.
Yeah, that can happen. That can happen for sure.
Yeah, to all of us, really. But,
All right.
yeah.
Anyone else want to jump on anything in here real quick before we wrap it up?
Well, that's kind of all I've done this recent week. Oh, there was one thing I tried to help Toss with this.
Yeah.
He wanted to get, I forgot the name of it. I'm having the same problem that Mark is.
Uh-oh.
Is Firefox the secure version?
Oh, so
Tor.
Oh, like Tor bundle?
He wanted to install Tor so he could look at cars without getting tracked for ads.
Oh, okay.
Because he wanted to buy a new car, and when he went to install the Tor, it went to halfway installing, and then the bar graph would froze. And then I installed Tor on this machine, and it went through all the steps, but I used the command line to go get it. Then I went to my Ubuntu machine and went to install, and it would do the same thing. It'd freeze right where his did that he showed on his screen. So I don't know what's up with the Tor.
Yeah, Mitchell said he did get it working.
He did?
Yeah. Oh, Anna Rita says that we're talking too nerdy for her to understand. All right.
So I know one of the other things that I actually tried to get working was I have all of my equipment is plugged into all my networking equipment is all plugged into an uninterruptible power supply or a UPS. It's just, if you guys don't know what any of that is, it's just essentially a device that has a battery in. It's like a surge protector with a battery in it, so that when the power goes out, the devices will stay on for some amount of time. And I was actually trying to configure a program called Nut. It's an open source program that's used for essentially talking to UPSs and getting like their battery stats and stuff. Because what I wanted to do was have all my stuff shut down when the UPS switches to battery. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to get that working. And that program, it's called NUT. It stands for Network UPS Tools. It is a pain to get working. You have to write, there's no GUI for it. You have to write a bunch of configuration files in order to get it working.
I can see why.
But actually, the way I was able to get it working is I tried a couple different systems. I ran it on my Zen server at first, just to try it on like the host part of my Zen server, because that's what I initially wanted, like the main like master device that would connect the like the server that would the UPS would actually plug into. Most UPSs actually have like a USB cord they come with, so you can like monitor stuff. But that didn't work. So actually the way I got it working, and the easiest way to set it up, if any of you guys want to try this, is through pfSense. pfSense has a plugin for NUT that adds all the functionality through the GUI, and it's a lot easier to set up. And so I used that to get NUT working, and I ran my NUT servers running on my pfSense router. And all the other client devices connect to the pfSense router, and that way they'll shut down too when the power goes out.
Okay. So you can kind
That's a
of
lot.
manage power that way.
If you want to get a UPS,
Well,
and
what
you
does
want
it use to
monitor it,
sense that it's lost the line?
so the UPS, the way it connects, the UPS, all UPSs come with like a USB cable. It's like the same one that works with a printer, where it's like that USB B to USB A. And
Yeah.
you plug that USB cable from your UPS into the device you want to monitor. And that way the UPS will send the stats over to the device. Yeah. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah. So if the power is interrupted, the USB is still supposed to communicate to the nut that the power's gone.
The UPS runs off of battery. That's how it works.
Okay, there's the
So
magic thing. It needs a cushion.
So the way the UPS works is when the UPS is a surge protector with a battery in it. When the power goes out, all the devices plugged into it stay on for a certain amount of time before the battery runs
Okay.
out.
So I was going to say the 5 volts that comes out of the UPS is still going to be there, even though the power is gone until all the capacitors on the motherboard drain.
Oh, are you asking like what happens when the battery dies on the UPS?
No, well, I was just wondering how it knew that there was no wall power anymore.
That's how it knows, is the UPS senses when it switches to battery, and it'll send that state back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super
when the
easy
UPS basically the way it'll work is that the UPS loses power from the wall. It switches to battery. Then the UPS will send its status to the NUT server, which is my pfSense router. Then my pfSense NUT on the pfSense router will tell all the client devices that are connected over the network, which is also plugged into the UPS, so it still works, like the switches and stuff. It'll tell those devices that are on the UPS to shut down. Then once all those devices shut down, then the host, which is my pfSense router, will shut down. And then after that, once the power will be lost.
Okay.
That'll make sense now. Then when the power comes
back on,
when the power comes back on, the UPS turns back on, which causes all the other devices to turn back on. Yeah, that was something I was trying to get to work for a couple days, and I finally figured out that the best way to do it is through pfSense, not through actually like writing the configuration files. You do still have to write a couple configuration files for the client devices, but it's only like a couple lines. Whereas with you're trying to configure the server, you have to like open up ports. You have to do all this stuff to get it to work, and I just could not get it to work.
Yeah, there's a few things on pfSense I've still not been able to figure out.
It's just a plugin. If you go to the plugins on pfSense, search for NUT, you can install it.
Yeah. I could probably create a battery backup with the solar battery over here. It's not like I have a 9-volt battery hanging out over here by my wall.
You would have to figure out a way for it to if you wanted to do something like that, you would have to figure out a way to like make it like send the status of it to your devices.
Oh, you can. I could get a charge controller that does that. My charge controller doesn't, but I can get I could just upgrade to a charge controller that does that.
For practicality for the chat, I know there's people like Anna Rita and others that are relatively new to Linux and everything, or may not be as tech savvy, but they're interested in the show. I will say UPS can come in very handy in the case of a lightning storm, where you might lose power for like a few hours and you're working on a project, or you want to be on the internet and on YouTube or whatever for a little while until your power comes back on. It gives you what is the current ones? I know years ago it was like 2 and 3 hours, but I think you can get a lot more.
It depends on the stuff that you have plugged into it. Yeah. The way it's actually measured is VA, which I forget what VA stands for. It's voltamps. Is that what it is? Yeah.
It's voltamps. Mine is like 15. When you read what's on a wattage, you might see like a watt output, but sometimes like on the kilowatt meter that I use, the wattage is not it's the device usage wattage, not the actual wattage out of the wall. But VA is what is typically watts. What the meter reads as watts is actually the watts times the power efficiency. So VA is the true watts coming out of the wall. That's the most important for determining your backup.
So my UPS is a 1500 VA UPS, which most of them, you can get them from about 1000 VA to like 3000 VA. Like most of the consumer ones are actually more like, most of the consumer ones are from like 500 to 1,000 or like 500 to about 1,000 VA. Then you upgrade to the more like medium ones, like what I have. Mine's 1500 VA. And then like the large like data center size, like the really big ones you use for like servers, like lots of servers, like in a data center, are like 4,000 to 5,000 VA.
Yep.
And so it just depends what equipment you have plugged into it. I know my UPS, my 1500 VA UPS, which has, I have a pfSense router. I have my pfSense router plugged into it. I have my Ubiquiti switch plugged into it, which is a PoE switch. So all the devices that are connected using PoE also draw power from that, such as my access points. Then I have a server plugged into that, like my Zen server that runs all my like virtualization services on it. Like I have like my Open Media Vault and stuff on that. And then so I have that, and then I have a couple other little things. Like I think my modem provided by my ISP is plugged into that. And then there's a couple other little things plugged into it. I don't exactly remember everything, but but with all that equipment plugged into it, I can have everything running for about 35 minutes.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And so that's why you don't want to rely on the UPS for keeping your stuff up the entire time. The point of it is not to do that. The point is so that stuff shuts down safely.
Yep. That's the way to do it. All right. One of the reasons I don't use those is I actually shut off. I kill all the power to the office when I'm done using it at night. So.
Well, yeah, pfSense and stuff like that, it's not a big deal if the power just gets cut.
Yeah.
But I have stuff like my server that's on all the time. I want to make sure that if the power gets cut, something might get messed up. So I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Really?
That's I have the wireless router. I have the pfSense, the modem, of course, and my NAS are all those are the only ones that are consistently on. So, all right. I think we are over an hour here, so I think we will go ahead and wrap it up. Dan, want to give us your final words?
Well, it's been an interesting discussion. You guys talked about a lot of stuff that I've never even heard of or considered. I'm by no means an advanced Linux user either, but I take the time and look around on the internet to see how to accomplish the things I want to play with. And you got to use some common sense when you're doing that. But all in all, I'm plugging along.
Yep. We learn by hunting what we need for. There you go.
Well, yeah, right. You can't ask everybody on a certain stream or Telegram or whatever when you have a problem. How do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? You got to go out, dig around till you've dug to the bottom of the internet, and then ask somebody. And then you're not being a total pest all the time.
Yeah, it's always good to ask. Like, look around yourself before you ask somebody. That way, you're not bothering people with the
by the same token. Don't get trapped into this thing where you get outdated information on a web page that tells you to do something that no longer works and does something else.
Yeah, if it's 5 years old in Ubuntu, it might still work. If it's 5 years old in Arch, don't try it.
Yeah, there we go. That's some experience talking.
That's what I actually found with Nut is all the articles on like setting everything up were like at least like 5 to 10 years old, and a lot of that stuff got removed.
Yeah, he's like, go here. All right,
So
since you're talking, give us your final words too.
I don't really know what to say for final words. I wouldn't consider myself an advanced Linux user either. I'd probably consider most of us here on the stream more intermediate Linux users.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I'm definitely not an advanced Linux user, but I still like to figure out how to like work stuff. And I love one of the reasons why I love like open source and Linux and all that stuff is because you can figure out what's going on. Like with Windows, you can't just figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Same thing with like why I use Home Assistant for all my automation. It's open source, and so I know it's trusted. Like I can exactly see like what like Home Assistant will function without the internet, stuff like that. I want to be able to have like control over my stuff, so that's really why I like open source.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now, there are a ton of like proprietary home automation solutions. Like I know Samsung SmartThings is the really big one. And the problem with SmartThings is that it's completely cloud-based. And when there's an outage on their servers, your smart home doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, and that happens. Like Microsoft had a 4-hour outage.
Like I know there's people who have like security systems and stuff on SmartThings, and like when SmartThings goes out, your security system will not work, which that is an issue.
Yep, they require that perpetually on. Mark, give us your final words.
Yeah, you can. I'll do a shameless plug. You can find me on YouTube and Parlier and on Minds and Vimeo. I'll soon have a channel on Vimeo. Yates Networks. So yeah, everything should be consistent across everything. It's Yates Networks is how I'll come up. I recently got an Instagram, but yeah, I probably won't use it all that much.
Instagram. So you bought into the evil Zuckerberg. All right.
I didn't buy it.
Oh, man.
I'll probably delete it tonight.
You know what, man? If you need it for your business, there's a radical difference between using things like that for business and using things like that for personal, you know, and that's
right. It's not for personal. It's for
you know, like personally, if I had a business, I wouldn't have an issue having a Facebook, just as long as I use like some separate browser or something.
Yeah, that's still something I'm not doing.
Yeah, I can't do Facebook. I can't bring myself to do Facebook, and knowing that Instagram is owned by Facebook is not.
Yeah, and they're all integrating themselves together.
Yeah,
it's becoming one.
So I'll probably
get rid of I don't really even use social media, so I don't know what to say on that.
You know what really sickens me? I'm fairly old, and over my old time, plus there's a forklift mechanic, so I know everybody's back room inside and out. And what really sickens me is all these companies over the years, one big fish gobbles up a little fish as soon as it looks successful. Then the big fish goes and gobbles up another little fish. Then and they just keep eating each other up, you know? Yep. And pretty soon we're just going to have two companies or even one running the whole planet.
Fighting each other, taking nips at each other, you know? Yeah,
the oligarchy is literally... We're in the final stages well, not the final stages. We're in like
the oligarchy has passed. We're in the initial stages of the one world order.
Yeah, the one world company.
There's too many choices still.
Yeah,
it'll be the one world company, and it will be called the government.
Yeah. Well, if you want more information on the one world order and all that kind of stuff, I am streaming on my Christian show tonight. You can jump on over there at 9 o'clock, so that's 50 minutes from now. I'll be over there. I dropped a link in there. We're getting into the exciting part. We are getting into, let me make sure I don't misquote it, because I have so many studies going on right now. We are starting 2 Peter chapter 3, so this is where it really does start getting into the end of the world as we know it. And so it'll be exciting over there. So that's on Our Walk in Christ. You can find me on over there on YouTube and on BitChute. We'll be streaming tonight on Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So
yeah,
jump on over there. I dropped the link there in the comments. If you are interested in that, go ahead and click on that. If you're not interested in such materials, then we will see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock on this channel for the weekly news roundup.
Sounds great.
All right, guys.
My favorite part of the week.
All right. Very good. Very good. All right, guys. We will see you
Goodbye,
guys later.
everyone.
Bye.
Later, everyone. Thanks for showing up.